Welcome to HPX. This is how to live the high performance experience. Let's go, my friends.
We are so happy to know that you are hearing our voices today. Brendon and I started HPX because we wanted a lifestyle brand that really spoke to our aspirations and hearts.
Yeah, we wanted to give you the same life-changing content, the tools, the strategies that we expect from our own personal and professional development journey.
And as you know, we have really high standards, and we wanted to deliver the best to you. HPX stands for the high performance experience. That means living a positive, vibrant, connected, and excellence-driven life.
It's something we are always striving for, Denise and I. And listen, if you ever need any coaching, any planners, supplements, or support to reach that next level, head on over to hpxlife.com. That's the website for our HPX podcast and brand. That's hpxlife.com. Now, let's get to today's episode.
Yay!
Hey everybody, it's Brendon Burchard. Welcome to HPX, your high performance experience. I'm super pumped to be joined right now by the one, the only legendary Russell Brunson over at ClickFunnels, and a very special guest, Chimene Van Gundy, who is a very, very generous heart and soul, who has contributed something that Russell is really passionate about. And I'd love to open up with just a little bit of a background about Russell and I. If you know me for the marketing side of my life, Experts Academy, Total Product Blueprint, anything I do about teaching brands or influencers how to do better marketing, consider me on the junior varsity team and consider Russell the varsity captain lead. Okay. I've told him this publicly and I've said it many times. Russell is the best living marketer that I know, and contributes an incredible amount of marketing knowledge and entrepreneurial knowledge to his audience, to who he calls funnel hackers, and has built an unbelievable business that has helped so many entrepreneurs, including Chimene, grow her brand, grow her business, grow her online sales. And so Russell was kind enough to have me out to his last conference, which I'm telling you, ClickFunnels puts on a show. And I was blessed to come out and speak, and everyone was so nice. Russell and I have been in the same industry, known each other for a really long time, known of each other especially. And over the last couple of years, become really good friends. I really value his leadership in the industry, really admire the company and the team he's built, but also admire the heart and the values that he does it with for his audience. He's an incredible man. His company is incredible. And Chimene has an incredible story about both meeting Russell and the change in her family's life because of that. So first, I want to welcome Russell on. Hey, buddy.
Hey, how's it going?
Man, it's crazy. We've never done an interview. I was thinking about that a minute ago.
This is the first time in over a decade knowing each other. This is pretty cool. I'm excited.
That's bananas. I'd love for you to give some context about ClickFunnels, because that's kind of what brought you all together, is what you do as a business, and then about your live event. And then we'll talk about that interaction that Chimene has had to get to know you, and obviously her success principles, because she's wildly successful as well.
Very cool. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting as you were saying that, like, to put it in people's minds the right way, like, as much as you've geeked out on personal development, high performance side of your life for the last decade and a half of your life, I've done the same thing with sales funnels. As nerdy and as weird as that is, like, I like to buy stuff just to look at how people get me to buy and what happens. And so, like, for 10 years, I've been teaching this stuff. 4 years ago, we launched a software company that makes it easy. And who knew that, today I've got a huge group of people who are as passionate about building sales funnels as I am. I used to get made fun of by everyone I knew, and now it's like becoming a cool thing, which is fun. But
you literally kind of created the tagline of what most marketers are after, which is, building the funnel. And you really own that. And I know that was both strategic, but also because that's your love. You really do love this stuff.
Yeah, it's so much fun. We were actually in Puerto Rico, 2 weeks ago with you, 3 weeks ago with Rachel and Dave Hollis. And I remember she said something about or Dave said, he's like, why are you so I'm excited about a lot of things in my life. I've never been excited about anything as much as you are about funnels. And I'm like, I don't know. It's just like so much fun. but that's kind of what it is.
That obsession, though, I think it's really important. Listen, you're talking to high performers. They get the fact that a obsession, even if it's a geeky obsession, like you and I geek out, I'm sure Chimene does too. It's like when you geek out on something in your life and you allow that healthy obsession about it, then you just get different results with other people because it's part of your identity. And once that craft or that skill or that business becomes part of you, you work harder for it. You learn better because of it. You apply and you stick with it longer. And I've never met a guy more obsessed about funnels or marketing, honestly. And so, man, you deserved everything that you've built. So tell us about your event and how you met Chimene as well.
Yeah, so we did. We do an event every year called Funnel Hacking Live, and so grateful to have you speak at this last one, which we had, I think, about 4,500 people. It was Nashville, Tennessee, and it was an amazing event. And for the last 2 years in a row, there's a special nonprofit charity that we're super close to. It's a charity called Operation Underground Railroad, and what they do is they go and they save children from sex slavery. And I first found out about 2 years ago, and I found out Tony Robbins is involved. I think he's one of their biggest donors, if not their biggest donor as well. And just it's such a big thing because literally able to go and save these children from the deepest, darkest parts of hell here on earth and give them light and hope and a chance. And so we fell in love with this mission, and we helped them to film a documentary. And 2 years ago at our event, we aired the documentary, the very first one, and we're able to raise over $1 million, which is equivalent. That will save I think it's about 400 children from sex slavery, which is cool. And then since then we've done a bunch of other things, and this year's Funnel Hacking Live, we had them come back. We showed a new documentary and everything. And kind of the fun story, and we can talk about there's other backstories with Chimene as well, but this one was kind of fun. Is we were doing the charity auction this year again, and we were raising a bunch of money. And my mom got involved this year as well. She made this quilt that had all the ClickFunnels t-shirts on it, and she's like, we should auction this off and give the money to OUR. And I was like so excited, and she's like, maybe we can raise $1,000. That was my mom's goal, and I was like, I think we can hopefully do more than that, Mom. And so we had this auction going for a little while. And then right before you came on stage and spoke, you were asking me about it. And then you had this idea, like, how about we up the ante? Whoever bids the most on this thing, let's have them come on the podcast, and it'll be this really cool experience. And so I went out there and I said that on the microphone to our audience, and they all started going crazy. And we had bidding wars and people running to the back. And when all was said and done, Chimene was the one who won. And the best thing about it, and I know this is so special to her, but to me as well, is the money that she donated is enough money to save 31 children from sex slavery. 31 children's lives completely transformed because of the donation that she made, which I'm so grateful for her doing that. And now she has a chance to be here with you and with us and hanging out on the podcast. So that's some of the backstory about today.
I love it, brother. And first, thank you for using your platform to raise awareness for something you're passionate about, because I think a lot of people do achieve success, but they don't think about how they can turn and give that back. And so sometimes they're doing good, they're making money, and they have the stuff in the cars or the external things, but internally they're not leveraging their full potential to give. And you've always made that part of what you do, brother. I really appreciate that. It's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
You're amazing. And for those who don't have context with the nonprofit they're talking about, when he says, they're able to go in and save children, what the funding literally does is consider this like, it allows like a military type operation to identify where sex slavery and just sort of the worst of humanity is happening, and to literally go with, think of it like a SWAT team of professionals who go in, break in, and free these children and these folks who are literally trapped in horrible conditions, trapped and being used for their bodies, trapped and just being completely, acts against humanity. And so you got to think about, this is like a SWAT team that goes in and rescues people. And it's it's an incredible thing. And I know Chimene had, as you were sharing earlier, right before we got on, you were kind of talking about like, hey, this is really personal to you. And that personal nature of this cause was something that you and Russell kind of discovered mutually, probably through the events, but you had sought out Russell originally for like a connection and marketing advice to say thank you for something that he had done. Would you tell that story?
Yeah. So in 2017, I attended Grant Cardone's 10X, but I really paid the $30,000 to see Russell to thank him because at the time, a few months before, I had found out that my daughter had been a victim of a horrific crime, an act, and so she really lost her light. She had gone to Japan on an exchange and then came back and really lost her light, and I didn't know what to do. And one day she came downstairs and she saw a video of Russell, and so she started watching him and watching these videos about what he was doing and marketing. And I noticed the light start to come back in her. And then 2 weeks before I go, she actually told me that she had made a plan to take her life, and that the only thing that stopped her was the videos of Russell. And so I have 5 children. And as a mom, I wanted him to know that, because I know that when you're in position of leadership, a lot of times you don't know and get to hear those stories in the background. And I wanted him to know that what he was doing had saved a life. And
Wow.
so I waited in line for 2 hours, and then it was for a photo op. And I got up there and I said, I don't want a photo. I just want to tell you that you saved my daughter's life. And her name is Bella. And
Wow.
that was it.
Russell, what is that like when you hear that?
Man, it was a special moment. I still remember because I think you had told someone either my wife or my sister, somebody, because I looked over and they were crying, and then I'm like, oh no, what happened? And you came and told me, and I started crying, and we're like sitting here with all the cameras and these huge lines of people still, and like we should just all go home. Like there's something to celebrate, something amazing. And but no, I think you said it right. Like it's tough. A lot of times we're out there doing our best and we have no idea what's happening. We're just hoping and praying that we're following the mission we're supposed to do and serve the right people. And a lot of times you don't hear what happens. And I'm just grateful that that happened, but super grateful that she shared it.
Yeah. Chimene, how does that transfer from you end up at Funnel Hacker and all of this giving, walk us through what happened. And then also let's get into a little bit about what is it that you're doing today and why do you think you're having the success you are?
Yeah. So basically, ClickFunnels at the time, they were sold out of tickets. And so Melanie reached out to us and they graciously gave us 2 tickets to Funnel Hacking Live. And Bella and I flew down in 2017 and we attended our first Funnel Hacking Live. And it was as life-changing for me as I know it was for her. And then Russell even made it a point to make sure that she got to personally meet him at the end. So
Wow.
We immediately signed up for their 2 CCX coaching program, which is it's kind of like a roadmap that's laid out for you on how to get your 2 Comma Club award. And so for those who don't know what 2 Comma Club is, it's making $1 million with a funnel. So she looked at me and said, Mom, I don't want to join with you. I want to pay for it myself. And I said, are you sure? And she goes, absolutely. So we both joined together. She paid for the coaching herself. And we re-signed up again at this next Funnel Hacking Live. But now she has an Amazon store. She is launching her first course. And she is 18 years old and she's doing amazing. And just to see the growth and the light has been amazing. And the people at ClickFunnels make sure that they follow her and they just do such a good job. And she's a ClickFunnels funnel hacker for life. When something like this happens to you, it's like, I will always be a Russell fan. There's nothing anybody could say or do to tell me that Russell Brunson isn't the real deal, because they are amazing. And it's not just him, it's everybody on his team, and his whole team reflects the good and the integrity, and I tell people there's always good and integrity in this world, and they reflect that. And so for me, I am actually a real estate investor. My niche is mobile homes. So I'm known as the Mobile Home Millionaire. Nice. And I love it because I actually get to give people housing and homes. And there is a big shortage in the US of affordable housing. And so I get my cup filled every day because we get to give people beautiful housing that they wouldn't otherwise get. And so ClickFunnels platform actually helped me launch my course for Mobile Home Millions. And so I had my second webinar yesterday, and I had my first webinar yesterday, and I'll let Brian Delaney share with you the stats. at your mastermind, your inner circle, because we're going to blow you out of the water. But my stats were amazing. So I am well on my way to, actually, I'll probably have my 2 Comma Club award by next week.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. Wow.
That's how good my stats are. Yeah.
So
I'm really excited.
So cool.
you should be. Hitting $1 million on any tool or system is amazing, but let alone in life. Tell us, like, what is it you feel like has made you that successful? Obviously, you have the platform,
Right.
but a lot of people have, a ClickFunnels account or another system or tool, but they don't activate. Like, what is it about your mindset that you feel like you would work through this? Because it's one of those things that people have these dreams, but they start and they quit. Like, what is about your mindset that you feel like has led you here?
Right. So as I said before, I have 5 kids, and I went through a pretty significant divorce, and I got to a point in my life where I was not able to depend on my kid's dad for being able to feed my children. And so I just got really hungry, and I was introduced to Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and took a course. And in order to buy the course, I had to sell stuff. So I sold stuff in order to get the course, and I launched. And I am now passionate about real estate, especially the mobile home space. It's all I do. So I do manufactured housing and mobile homes. So that is my niche. And it has absolutely transformed my life. And I think for me, my day of liberation was April of 2017, when my CPA told me I went from negative $50,000 to $4.2 million in net worth. And I started crying that day because it was tears of joy, because for the first time in my life, I did not ever have to depend on a man again. Like, a man was not a plan for me. Yeah. And it was the day that really, really transformed my life as a mom for my kids, and truly changed. And I started my journey over Mother's Day weekend, actually, in 2015.
Wow. When you think of what your kids see, like, if you had to think of like 3 things that they see in mom that you want them to kind of like role model, like you want to be the role model for your kids in like 3 ways, what would those 3 ways be?
To never give up, to continue to plow forward, no matter how many people tell you you're crazy, no matter how many people tell you that you can't do it, you do it anyway. And then just to have faith, believe, trust your instincts, believe in yourself, because if you do that, then you'll be able to be successful. And that's what I hope that I've rubbed off on them.
Love that. When you think of building a business, and obviously you've really had an uncommon mistake, like, what do you think is your uncommon success, I should say? What do you think is that way that you contemplate business or think about what you're doing in a way that makes you stand out? Because obviously real estate is a super crowded market. You found your niche, that's great. But in terms of building the business itself, what makes the sales, or what makes you a higher performing person than the person who is also in the same niche?
How I treat people. And so when we rehab a home and there's an issue, I don't cover it up. So if there's mold, I'm not going to kill it and slap paint on it. We're going to take care of it. Every home that we rehab, it has to be something that I would let my grandma live in. And I'm proud of that. And so to give quality, affordable housing to people, because to me, it's not just about the money or the dollar. It's really about how we can help people. And that has actually expanded my business. We're in 11 states. I have over 400 buyers on each of those lists in 11 states of people that are wanting our homes. And it's really getting people out of the mindset that they're trailer trash when they're not, when they're actually a great way to offer people housing in the US. And so the statistics are staggering. 22 million Americans live in mobile homes or manufactured housing. 4.2 million of them actually make 6 figures a year. So it's no longer, the trailer trash mentality. So for me in my space, it's getting beyond that, right? And educating
help the customer think of themselves in a new way a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Russell, you did that too. Help your customer think of themselves in a new way. Obviously, as funnel hackers. But what do you think for yourself? How would you answer that? Of what is it you do or think of in business different than other people? Because as you know, other people have built SaaS businesses as well. So like, what is it that you did to grow your business faster than your peers?
Yeah, I think it's funny. I had this whole conversation with my team the other day because, I'm trying to wrestle my first wrestling tournament next week. First time I wrestled in 18 years. And like,
cannot wait for that video.
And I started wrestling, and like the first practice, I tore my neck so bad that I couldn't even stand up. And then it's like been rehabbing. So I was like, okay, I got to get this fixed. I got a week till the tournament. So I'm having chiropractors, acupuncturists, massage therapy, like all these people coming to my office. I'll pay whatever it costs, just come here. So like I'm working while they're adjusting me, and like it's nuts, right? And it's been funny because I've had a lot of different people come trying things to magically heal me. But there's totally a difference between there's some people you can tell like this is their profession, this is what they do. And there's some people where this is their art. And the difference in like, this is what I do versus this is my art is so, it's like night and day. Like when we were out in Puerto Rico with you, we went to the spa, and the masseuses there were like, they're artists, like they're true artists. Like everything they did, you could tell it was different. It was a higher level. It was just because they were so obsessed with it. It was their art. And like to the point where I was literally bribing the person in your spa. I was like, what would it take for you to move to Boise? And they're like, what is Boise? I'm like, it is and you can come and massage me every day and I'll pay you the same you're making. Anyway.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're amazing. But I think that's the biggest thing is like, I look at people that are really successful, and it's and my dad used to tell me this when I was wrestling growing up. My dad always said, he said, look, everyone is in this wrestling room together. They're all being coached by the same coach, and the coach can get all the kids up to about this level. The difference between people who are here and the people who are champions, that extra like 20%, like that's on you. That's on you, like loving it and being obsessed with it, making it this like your art. So I was wrestling, like it was my art. Like I had to figure out how to do this stuff, and I just was obsessed with it. With business, it's the same thing for me. And like I see the people that are most successful. It's not the people like, oh, I'm going to show you how to lose weight, or oh, I'm going to show you how to flip a house, or whatever, right? It's the people like this is their art form, and they love it, and they're obsessed with it. And they're always looking for like better ways to explain it, or to do it, or to teach it, and like that's what I think is that it's an extra 20%. Because any profession, like you get a degree, like you're here with everybody else, all 800,000 other chiropractors this year that graduated, or massage therapists this semester, or whatever, right? The extra 20% is like when you really, it shifts from being like an occupation to this is your art. Yes. And I look at you like first time I met you was back. You just written Life's Golden Ticket, and you were doing your event in the tents, and there was something different about you, and it wasn't. How did you go to events? You have conversations with people, and like they're like talking about, oh, I'm gonna make so much money, and like they're obsessed with the money. It's like those ones are the ones that burn out. The ones like you're like, I have a tent, and people are gonna come, and I'm gonna transform everything. And like I was like, that guy's an artist. Whatever he's doing, he's gonna be successful, right? And I think that like that's the biggest thing, and I think so many times we get caught up in like I learned the skill set to do the thing I do, and they stop learning. Yes, I think that's the tragedy. It's like that's where you should start learning. That's where it's like, okay, now I'm even playing field with everyone else. I need to become obsessed, and then make this my art. And when you do that, that's when you transcend. And I look at the people that are really good, and from everything from like financial planners to chiropractors to dentists. Like people will travel insane. Like Todd Dickerson, my business partner, he just hired probably the most expensive accountant on planet Earth. He's a CPA, just like every other CPA, and he lives like 800 states away from where Todd lives, but Todd's paying him insane money because like he's the artist, right? He's the guy. You ask a normal CPA, like, I can't do that. And you ask him, he's like, let me show you how to do that. And it's just like, it's that difference of that obsession and what you do that I think shifts everything.
And I know that about you too. You've always sought the pros, just like you're talking about with, taking care of your neck from the workout. It's like you're trying to repair yourself that way, but you've also always studied the best and the best at what you do. And I know Chimene, like working with you or having her daughter model you, it's just like, that is the difference maker for people. They either have a mentor or seek out a mentor, or they have a model and they're like, oh, I'm going to try that, make it my own, test it. Because everything we talk about in high performance is just like in marketing. It's like, you have to test. Like, what's my diet supposed to be, Brendon? Well, let's test. Like you just don't know until you do a bunch of things till you figure it out, but then you stay on it because the tests or the things that don't work, you understand, but you also save so much time because you followed the pros. You started where the pros were instead of trying to build up that. I would say start your tests with best practice. Like don't start your test from making stuff up or hoping. It's like, no, go, what is the world-class best? Start there and test from there to find your art or to find that little extra thing that you can grab. And I think that makes a difference for a lot of people. Chimene, when you were talking about how you think about your business success, what do you think are some things you do during the week as a professional, as someone making the magic happen, that other people don't? You know, we often call those high performance habits. It's just like some of the foundational things that you do that maybe really you feel like that gives you edge, but maybe what are some things you don't think other people do that you do that gives you the edge?
Right. So as a mom, we're all about doing everything for everyone, right? Taking care of our families. But as a business owner, I actually pride myself on things that I don't do. So, I don't do any of the mundane things that a lot of people think that they need to be doing. I don't do, because I'm a CEO. All I should be doing is finding deals and getting money. That's it. Those are the only two things that I should be doing. But I start my day every day with a gratitude journal where I write down about 5 things every day that I'm grateful for. And that's how I start my day. And then I usually have a walk. So I write my gratitude journal and then have a walk and clear my head. And then I am all about quality versus quantity. So for me, my big focus is, how are we delivering? How are we supporting our students? How are we changing lives? So it's not about how many sales did I get? How much money did I make, right? It's all about, how are we helping them? How are we changing their lives? Are we giving them enough support? What can we do differently? So those are the things that I focus on that I think make me better in the real estate space. And I think it's why I've been highly successful versus other people in the real estate space. Because when you truly treat people the way that you want to be treated and you apply the golden rule and your whole mindset and, soul is fed by helping others, the money just flows. That's what's so great about it. And Russell's a prime example of that. They're all about helping each other, even in Two Comma Club. It's all about, how can they support us? What can they do to help us and make it better? What can they offer us to make it better? And then the money just flows to him. He's just like a magnet and he attracts money. And I think that's really what sets business apart. And I know for me, that's what sets my business apart. I have people waiting to work for me. I have people staying in line. They want to work for me. They see the vision. They want to do this. And so, I know that I'm sure Russell has people the same way. They want to work for ClickFunnels. They want to be in that tribe. And I think those are the things that set apart the artist.
I love that. What about you, Russell? What do you think are some things you do either tactically or, at a practical level each week that some of your peers or other people don't, that kind of gives you the edge?
I think one of the biggest things, and when I went to UPW to Tony's event the very first time, is where I first learned it. And it was just understanding state change. Like I always thought like, oh, I'm tired today. Oh, I'm bored today. Oh, it was just like a thing that happened. And Tony's like, no, you just change it. He has this big triangle. He's like, you shift this, these things, and also your state changes. And, for me, it's I'm very aware of it. And every morning I drive my kids to school. And I don't know about you. I'm sure you guys are similar to me. Like I hated school. And I was like, I remember driving to school and just being like miserable and low, like looking at the door and just being like, oh. And so for me, I'm taking my kids to school. And I was like, if they enter the school doors in the state that I used to enter school doors in, like they're going to be miserable for the next 8 hours before they get free to come, have fun. So I'm always like, I've got like this 8-minute drive from my house to the school. My whole job is to get them in the most peak state, most excited possible. So like they come in and they're always like, oh, I want to go to school. And then like I have the weirdest song always picked out, boom, and I play it and I get them dancing and they're, Dad, you're so weird. And by the time we're at school, they're all headbanging with me, and all the other parents are like, they're drinking their coffee like this, driving like, what is happening in Russell's Funnel Hacker Jeep, right? But I'm getting my kids in state, and then they get out of the car and you can tell like they're in a different state as they walk through the doors. And I come back home and I'm like, okay, I'm about to go through the door, and like I gotta get in the right state, to make sure my wife is lit up before I leave. So it's like change my state and I go in the door, and then when I come to the office, like I'm tired. I get the office and everything's like, I know the stress of the day is about to happen, but I'm like, if I walk through that door and I'm like, hey guys, I've got my entire team here is gonna be like, they're gonna sync to my energy level.
Yep. It's
like tuning forks, right? It's like they have the 2 tuning forks next to each other, like they even each other out. So it's like, I got to be the loudest tuning fork in the world. So when I walk in, I got to like clear up here, because if everyone else is down here, I got to pull them up with me. And so it's just like all the time, every time I'm entering into a room or situation, I try to stop for a second and like notice the state I'm in, and then be like, if I'm going to succeed in the situation, what state do I need to be in? And I try to like get like over exaggerate it as I come into the thing, so that everyone else can kind of come to me, you know. And I think that's some of the biggest stuff, because like, I mean, you know this more than I do, but the energy you need to push these things that we're doing forward is not small. And if we're not like, I mean, I watched in Puerto Rico, like you've got probably the highest energy of anyone I've ever seen on earth. Like it makes me feel like I'm just hanging out sometimes, but every time you the mastermind, you came in and you're coming in here, getting everybody else to come up to your level. And then we can all work at this level way better than, you know, if you would have came in here and everyone's here, it'd have been like, oh, let's just go swimming. And it never nothing good would have came from it. And so I think just state control, like conscious of your state and conscious of how to shift that state for yourself and for others has been probably the biggest thing for not just me, but for like my family and my team.
I love that, man. You know, funny enough, I just talked with our friends from the mastermind last night. We're calling for some advice on stuff. And they were like, yeah, you were just present the whole time. Like, how do you do that? And sometimes I was energized or not, but I try to be just present the whole time. And I laughed. I was like, well, I don't know if you know, but every time we took a break, I went to the bathroom and I did like 5 to 7 minutes of Qigong or body opening or stretching every time. So anytime we had a break in the mastermind, if I disappeared, I was just working on my state, open up my body back again. Cause you know, we'd been sitting there and working for a while or, you know, lots of people have been sharing things. I was like, gosh, I got to make sure at least I'm the most present person at this table in some way. So I just would keep going away and doing that. And they're like, you did that? I said, like 10 times a day. They're like, what?
We thought you had diarrhea. You were there forever.
Exactly. It's what people don't understand. It's like, it really takes a lot of active management to be present enough or energized enough to do our work. And some people can force it. Some people have that beautiful nature that is just happening for them. But other people, they condition it over time. And I think I learned a very similar approach from Tony as well. I think it really helps. Back to Chimene, let me ask a question. Both of you, and I really think this is what really helps Russell in so many ways. So I'm curious if this is true for Chimene as well. I know it's true for me, is that we can all be high performing. There's a lot of people who are truly excellent in their personal life. Like they're givers, they're contributors, big heart, they're the artist, but they also don't build a business because they've never learned like persuasion, like how to sell. And I think that, I mean, Russell has just got unbelievable gifts at that. I partner with my friend Dean Graziosi. He's got incredible superhuman gifts at that. But that's kind of the difference maker sometimes, because lots of people have good habits, but their business doesn't break through because they can't sell. They can't get someone to buy something. So I'd love to just like talk through like, what's one or two things psychologically you think that you do with other people or that you facilitate that makes them say, oh, I should buy this or do this now?
So one thing that I do is I always immediately try to find something in common with somebody so I can make an instant connection. So whether it's, you know, them being a parent, I mean, we're all brothers, sisters, husbands, wives, fathers. So I always immediately, I listen, I shut my mouth. I do 5% of the talking and let them do 95%. And so I instantly connect with them and try to find a way to connect with them. So one, I'm building trust almost immediately, because a lot of people in this world feel like they're not heard. And if you allow somebody to feel like they're heard, it actually is life-changing for them, because they feel like somebody's listening and that they've heard them. And that's really what the human soul wants and craves. It's one of the things. And then the second thing that I do, I think that's easier, is really what I've been doing is just being very open with people. I'm showing them my back end. Like I'm telling you, I'm getting 25 to 30 mobile homes for free every month, and you can too. Here's my text messages. Let me show you this. Let me show you that this is actually real and this can happen. So it's not being afraid to share with them my actual experiences and my actual back end, because I want them to know, you know, that this is actually happening for me, and this is how you do this to make this happen for you. And then the second
kind of
thing,
demonstration, right? It's like, right. Hey, let me show you this.
Right. Now their mind's blown, and now you've actually put a belief in them And it immediately instilled a confidence into them that they didn't have before. You know, I had a mentor student that didn't think you could do any deals in LA. And I'm like, I love LA. You can do more. You actually make more money on the in-between spread because it's a bigger market. We made her $12,000 in 10 hours. She was thrilled, you know, and I did a live video on it. I mean, it's one of those things, right? But supposedly you can't do real estate deals in LA. So it's being able to do those things. So I think for me, it's the instant connection that I can create with people. And then the second of all is actually, you know, being vulnerable to show them what I'm actually doing so that it builds a belief and confidence in them. Love
that. Russell, what about you? You're probably the best salesman alive. You know, it's like, if y'all have never seen it, like Russell will go to an event with, you know, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 people. And he'll go up on stage and, you know, the promoter's counting on him to offer his products and actually get sales to make money at the event. And that's called platform speaking. It's one of the hardest things in the world to do. And he's dialed it down to an art. What do you think are, you know, 2 or 3 key principles that you can do to persuade people to, you know, engage in your business or buy your stuff?
Yeah, I think that it's kind of to preface that, I think the biggest thing is for the entrepreneur, the person, to believe that selling is okay. Because I think a lot of times we have the stigma of like, oh, selling is evil. And it's funny because I was just looking at the mastermind we went with you. We have like 3 or 4 of us that are like hardcore direct response marketers, a lot of personal development people. I feel like you're kind of in the middle of like, your feet are in both world. But the very first meeting we had, like most of the personal development people had deep fear of selling is bad. I don't want to do that. People, I just want to serve them. It's like, and I look at my life, like everything amazing that's happened in my life came because some entrepreneur was willing to sell me something. I told the story in Puerto Rico, but my wife and I, like, we couldn't get pregnant, and we tried everything, went to doctors, went to all sorts of stuff. And there was one doctor who believed in his message so much that he did everything he could somehow to get on Oprah, which, as you know, is not an easy task. For like a decade of his life, gets on Oprah. And in the middle of our infertility problems, my wife and I, she's at home watching Oprah, and there's this doctor with Oprah talking about infertility, and he lives in Boise, Idaho. And we call him up, we go in there, giving the consultation, we're like giving him the money as quick as we can, and he changed our life. We got pregnant with twins 3 months later, and like everything shifted because he was willing to sell us and to go out there and do the work to get the message out there. And I think the first biggest hard thing is just becoming okay with that. Like, understand, like, if you really want to change people's lives, you have to learn how to persuade, and you have to learn how to sell. It's not a dirty, it's not an evil thing. It's how you change people's lives. That's the first thing. And the second thing is understanding that, you know, I think a lot of times selling is scary, especially for me. Like, I cannot sell one-on-one like that. I have a lot of internal fears of that. I'm super introverted, so it doesn't feel good. And so for me, I found the platform, like, I can't sell one-on-one, but how can you sell differently? And it's like, well, I can sell in groups. I can sell in webinars or teleseminars back in the day, or from stage. And when you learn that, like, the art's different of selling. Like, the way that I sell on stage is I'm not hard closing someone. I'm telling stories that help them break their false beliefs, right? So I'm telling a story. If I can get that story to break their false beliefs about whatever I'm trying to offer them, then they're more likely to say yes to that thing. So you watch the way I do my stage presentations. I tell 3 or 4 or 5 stories. It breaks people's false beliefs to the point where, like, oh my gosh, I think that thing Russell has could actually work for me. And then I just make a really good offer, and a huge percentage of people say yes. And it's not, again, when you look at it that way, it's like, it's not bad persuasion. It's like such a good thing. You're helping people break through the things that are holding them back. You know, I know with your business, Brendon, like, there's reasons why people don't become high performers. And usually it's not that they can't figure out the to-dos. Like, the skill sets aren't that hard. Like, wake up early, eat a good breakfast, like exercise. Like, it's not difficult, but it's like they have these beliefs in their head, like, oh, I can't do that because of this and this. And so
the psychology is the most difficult thing in the world.
100%. So the way I sell is I tell stories that break the false stories that they have. If I can change a story in their head and give them a new story that's empowering, then the habits become easy. It's like, oh my gosh, like, I can do that thing because I don't believe this anymore. I believe this, and now everything's shifted for me. And so it's kind of hard to explain, in a fast period of time, but that's the goal of it, is just you're persuading by replacing people's broken stories that are holding them back with true stories that empower them. And when you do that, it's easy to get people to move, to change their life, to buy something, to come to an event, to buy a course, to, like, whatever you need them to do. And you can break those internal false beliefs. I heard one person say one time, they said, it's like, a lot of times people are in a car and, like, their foot's on the gas, but it's also on the brake, and it's like, and they're just spinning out. It's like, if you can get the foot off the brake, then it's just like the stories of the brake that's holding them back from actually moving forward. So
good. So good. I love that, man. Both you have had to build a team doing this. Chimene, you mentioned there's a lot of things you just don't do. Like you focus on this, and I'm assuming you delegate the rest to some team somewhere. And I know a big part of high performance is not doing everything yourself. It's learning that you accelerate faster and you become higher performing when you have a team behind you and supporting you, lifting you up, making progress go faster in areas you can't. How do you think about leadership? And I'd love to ask in a specific way is like, what do you think are one or two leadership principles that you apply with your team that makes your team higher performing? Like, what do you say or do, or how do you lead that makes your team world-class or higher performing than other people in that position?
So the first thing I do, I don't micromanage. I set my expectations up front, and they're high expectations. And if they meet those expectations, then, I have a bonus structure in place and all those things, and it's great. So one is micromanaging. I just don't do it. Number two, the second thing that I would say is I'm always willing to do whatever it is I'm asking my team to do. And they know that. So nice. I will never ask my team to do anything that I myself am not willing to do.
I love that. How about you, Russell?
Those are two top ones.
Very cool. I think the two biggest ones I would say is number one is when you're building the team, it's building a team of rock stars, right? I read an article one time said like an A player versus a B player. A player is like 3,200 times more productive than the B player. It's like, we're going to hire people that are cheaper. So, okay, you got a whole bunch of B players. You got to get 3,200 to equate to like one rock star. So it's not cheaper, way more expensive, way more time. So first part's like, if you're building your dream team, like build the dream team, like find the best people you possibly can to work with. And initially might be, especially when I have money, I can't afford these people. It's like, okay, well, I couldn't afford Todd as my business partner now, but I sold him on the vision. He came in as a partner and he worked for free, just like I work for free. And, now we have this amazing thing and he's insanely rich, but he bought into the vision ahead of time. So it's like building the dream team of A players from the very beginning is number one. Number two, my new favorite book for the last 5 weeks I've been geeking out on is Extreme Ownership.
Yes.
Which is just like, man, I look at all of the leadership issues I've had is because I was like the opposite of that. Like, who can we blame today? And it's like, the premise of the book is like, there's no such thing as bad teams, there's only bad leaders. And like, there's a problem, it's always your fault. And it used to be me looking for point out whose fault it was. And now it's like, okay, if the premise is that it's always my fault, then it's like, what do I need to change? And man, just in the month or so that I've been trying to personally do that in my life, in my marriage, in so many different places, it's weird because I didn't think it'd be liberating, but it is insanely liberating by blaming yourself for all the problems as opposed to trying to point to other people. And I think it's having a huge trickle down effect in all the stuff that we manage right now.
I love it. It's so funny. I think there is that dichotomy there. You think, oh, well, if I take ownership, things aren't going to get done as much, or I won't have any people to blame. But the funniest thing is with both Jocko's writing and some people I've advised in companies that really like his work is that at the end of the day, if you take that ownership, at least you have a source of action.
Control it.
When you don't have a source of action, then all of this other discouragement and disappointment and judgment comes up because it's just somebody else and there's nothing you can do. But when you own it, it's like, oh, I needed to communicate better, which is ultimately, I think the best part of Jocko's work is like, no, the leader, you must communicate the plan and own the plan and work the plan, discuss the plan and be part of that. I love a lot of his work as well. By the way, on A players, I just had a great conversation with Dean. I'll share just because you mentioned mastermind earlier, but it was about how do you get people into that A player place? And it's really hard to do because if they've bought into the mission, okay, that's great. If they're a good team member, that's great. But what happens when their performance kind of lags off a little bit? And the ability to give them that sense of ownership in asking them to self-evaluate. So simple things like I literally asked a team member the other day, I said, tell you what, let's think about the last 3 Fridays that you left the building. The last 3 Fridays you left the building, there's probably one of 3 feelings maybe you felt. One feeling was, oh, you know what? What an amazing week. We were in the trenches doing the battle. There's a pride of accomplishment at the end of it. I gave everything I got here. And there's another one of like, hey, you know what? We went through, we're getting some progress here. It feels okay. It's more of like a fine, everything's fine. And then there's another thing called boredom. And if you've ever left the door of my building bored, I would love for you to either consider, should you quit today? Or ask why, given the mission that can change people's lives and all the tools and all the support and other team who've also committed that mission, why weren't you able to spur that in your mind and have that hunger to do better? Like where is the detachment there when you have everything in the world to change someone's life, but you've left bored? Because what people do is they show up and they go through the motions. And going through the motions, as I always say on this podcast and everything I do, is going through the motions is actually the killer of high performance. It's not that they got the edge of the perfect thought or the best strategy in the world. It's that some people just go through the motions because that makes them good or good enough in their mind. So they don't do, as you said earlier, that extra 20%. They're not looking for the art because they're like, oh, but I'm good. But good is the enemy of high performance. You have to ask, okay, what could be more? So giving people that self-evaluative tool to say, okay, you had the whole week, you had ownership of all the tools, all the capability to make a difference. Did you use it? And turning that back onto the teams in all of our brands and companies has been really a powerful technique to make A players become and stay A players. Like, how did you feel when you left the building? It's such a tactical, tangible, like, huh. And it really forces you to, as our own selves, high performers, to ask that too. Like, how did you feel when you contribute your best? So I'd love to ask you, Chimene, like when you like make that sale, or when you've had this level of success, how do you not bottom out? How do you not burn out or hit that stage where you're just kind of like, it's good. You're going through the motions. Like, what keeps you in, like, more common language, like what keeps you from plateauing? Because clearly you're growing. What prevents you from just going through the motions of plateauing?
Because when we think about it in terms of what have we completed for the week, it's instead of again, and I really think this is the key to everything. So I'm just going to keep honing this. But for us, it's not about how much money did we make. It's how many people did we help? How many people did we give homes this week? How many lives did we change? How many families did we change? How many moms have we helped to be able to make sure that they know that mobile homes is a vehicle for them to, in the real estate space, to be able to actually change their child's life? So that's how we actually measure things. It's not measured in terms of money at all. Now, yes, money is important. You have to have money to run a business. But I would contend, and in my experience, is that if you are focusing on really quality over quantity, that the money just follows.
Love that.
And that is the one thing in my business that sets us apart.
Love that. Russell, how do you think about it? Because, you've obviously as well reached a point where you don't have to do it no more, man. And a lot of people, when that's part of success where they usually get in a little trouble, they just don't have to do it anymore. You haven't had to do it for a long time. So when you break through that level of ceiling of success, how do you personally not break down, shut down, quit, or plateau?
It's funny because I think all of us as entrepreneurs go through this phase where it's like the motivation, you're first going to start using like, I got to make money, and you make money and you're like, oh, that was hollow and empty. And you're like, then you look at the people you made money from, you're like, I helped that person, that felt really good. And then you're like, oh, I want to help some more people. And then then the next jump happens, right? And you evolve as a person where you're less money focused and more like impact focused. And then the next thing after impact is kind of like the legacy. And I think for me right now, it's been fascinating because we every morning we have a company, all hands on. We have 270 employees all around the world. So every day, though, at the same time, every morning we jump in. There's a 7-minute Zoom meeting that everyone's got to be on, and it's basically kind of go over a scorecard really quick of what's happened in the company. But then we share a success story of somebody that's using our platform that did something amazing. And I don't run the meetings, but whenever the ones that I run, I always tell them, like, I want you guys to understand, like, that one person, they hit 2 comma clubs, which is awesome, made $1 million. But do you know what they sell? Like, this person right here, she made a documentary to help doctors who are committing suicide. Like, it's that's what she created. And like, so far she's saved like 800 doctors from suicide. Like, that's one of our customers that saved 800 doctors from suicide. Like wow. What we do matters. And we have these staff t-shirts. I'll say what we do matters. It's like, that's one of our 81,000 members. I'm like, and then, next day it's like, here's so-and-so, and they, they help, people lose weight, and they've got 150,000 customers, and And like, that was one of our customers, like, that changed that many, like, and I started looking at like 81,000 people, how many people using ClickFunnels now, and I look at the impact. I'm like, we're literally serving billions of people indirectly by providing the platform. I'm like, God, like, if that's not, a personal mission, a spiritual mission, like so many things in one. And that's, that's 2 customers, 3 customers. And it's just, I don't know, I try to make that as clear as possible for my company and my team, because that's what fires me up. When I hear the story, it's just like, oh my gosh, 50,000 people's lives were changed because 10 years ago, I geeked out on a stupid funnel thing. And then I convinced Todd to build software, made it happen. And now it's like all these people lost weight because of this weird chain of events that happened 15 years ago when I was at some marketing event. Like, who's going to be the next person in our marketing event who's going to have that thing that triggers out even more people? And I don't know, that's this point, that's what fires me up, is just that constant thinking about the effect that, like, the ripple effect that happens from all the pieces of things we're doing.
I love that. Chimene said that too. We in high performance, we often say, stay connected to the impact.
Yep.
And that's what you're doing. It's like, hey, telling the team, look at these success stories. Chimene's talking about, hey, let's talk about changing people's lives versus just the monetary stuff. So I think that's really important. I hope as everyone's been listening to this, you all kind of come back to some things we're always talking about, which is, my wife Denise always says, you have the choice every day to go be average or to go be extraordinary. So go be extraordinary. So I want to thank Russell Brunson and Chimene Van Gundy for being out there, living a high performance life, and for living an extraordinary life. Thank you both.
Thanks for having us. It was super fun.
Thank you.
Hey, it's Brendon again. I hope you enjoyed this episode of HPX Podcast. Please share it with 3 friends right now. And if you post it on social media, make sure you use hashtag HPXLife, because we're always giving away prizes to our tribe. And do me a favor, tell someone about this episode. I think it's on each of us to spread positivity and empowerment during these times of chaos and negativity, right? So, be the dealer of hope and education in your tribe. If you'd like to help us here at HPX, then also please rate and review the podcast on Apple Podcasts. Give us some stars and cheer us on, because believe it or not, it really helps us, and I read all of them. And I want to let you know, we're thankful to have you here in the HPX Life community. So be sure to go deeper with us. Go to hpxlife.com and we'll serve you in whatever way makes sense for you. As my wife, Denise, likes to remind me, every day you can choose to be average or you can choose to become extraordinary. I just love that. So my friends, thanks for joining us today. Go be extraordinary.